I spent $1,000 on this locker because I just had to have that pink scooter.
She walked onto one of the most competitive reality television sets in cable history, surrounded by loud, aggressive, larger-than-life personalities who had been doing this for years. Most people would have crumbled under that pressure. Most people would have faded into the background, become another forgettable face in a sea of bidding paddles and dusty storage lockers. But not her. From the very first moment she appeared on screen, something was different. There was a fire in her eyes, a sharpness to her voice, and confidence that you simply cannot fake, and audiences noticed immediately. We're talking about Brandy Pasani, one of the most beloved, most talked about, and most fiercely followed cast members in the entire history of Storage Wars. If you watched the show during its golden era, you already know her name. You know the sharp wit, the eye rolls that launched 1,000 memes, and the raw authenticity that made her impossible not to root for. But here's the thing, the version of Brandy that fans think they know from the screen is only part of the story. The real story, the one that unfolded after the cameras stopped rolling, after the auctions ended, and after the spotlight dimmed, that story is far more complex, far more inspiring, and honestly far more dramatic than anything that ever aired on television. So today we're diving deep. We're going back to the beginning, walking through the chaos of her Storage Wars years, and then following the full arc of where life took her after. Because if there's one cast member from this show whose journey deserves a proper telling, it's her. Buckle up, because this is the full story of Brandy Pasani, and trust me, you are not ready for all of it. Before the cameras, before the bidding wars, before she became a household name to millions of reality television fans across the country, Brandy Pasani was just a young woman with sharp instincts and a natural hustle. Born on May 16, 1980, in Harris County, Texas, Brandy didn't grow up in a world of Hollywood glamour or entertainment industry connections. Her path into the spotlight wasn't something she planned or plotted. It happened organically, almost accidentally, through a relationship and a shared passion for the thrill of finding value in forgotten things. She met Jared Schultz through a mutual connection, and the two of them developed both a personal relationship and a business partnership that would eventually define a chapter of both their lives. Together, they got into the world of thrifting and resale, opening a store called Now, and then in Orange County, California. It was a liquidation and thrift operation that gave both of them hands-on experience in a world they genuinely loved, turning other people's discarded items into real money. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest, and it gave Brandy a practical education in spotting value, negotiating deals, and understanding the resale market from the ground up. That experience, combined with her natural personality, direct, funny, unfiltered, and completely at ease in front of a crowd, made her a perfect fit for what Storage Wars would eventually become. When A&E came calling, and the show began casting real buyers and operators for its auction-based format, Brandy and Jared stepped right into the spotlight together. And from the very first season, it was clear that Brandy wasn't just along for the ride. She was, in many ways, the ride itself. Storage Wars premiered in 2010, and within its first couple of seasons, it had exploded into a genuine cultural phenomenon. The premise was simple and brilliant at the same time. Auctioneers would sell off the contents of abandoned storage units to the highest bidder, with buyers only able to peek inside from the entrance before placing their bets. The mix of tension, treasure hunting, and big personalities turned it into must-watch television almost overnight. And within that already electric lineup of characters, Brandy Pasani stood out in a way that was hard to define but impossible to miss. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room. That title belonged to others, but she had something those loud voices often lacked, which was genuine, unscripted relatability. When Brandy reacted to something, you believed it. When she rolled her eyes at a ridiculous bid or called out a bad decision with that perfectly timed one-liner, it felt real. Because it was real. That authenticity was, and still is, her superpower. Her dynamic with Jared on screen was endlessly compelling. They bickered, they laughed, they disagreed on strategy, they celebrated wins together, and they absorbed losses together. To viewers watching from their living rooms, they looked like the kind of couple you root for, messy, imperfect, but genuine. They were dubbed the young guns of the show, and that nickname captured something true about their energy. They were scrappy, competitive, and willing to take risks that some of the older, more established cast members wouldn't touch. As the seasons rolled on, Brandy's star only rose. She became one of the most searched and discussed cast members, the subject of countless fan forums and social media posts, and a genuine touchstone for the show's massive fan base. But while the public was watching a polished, entertaining version of her life, the reality behind the cameras was becoming increasingly complicated. For years, fans assumed that what they saw on screen was what was happening in real life. Brandy and Jared appeared together, worked together, and to the outside world, seemed very much like a couple who had built something meaningful side by side. That's why the revelation that came in 2020 hit so many viewers like a freight train. Brandy publicly confirmed that she and Jared had actually separated back in 2018, 2 full years before fans even knew. During that entire time, the two had continued filming together for the show, maintaining a professional relationship on camera, while their personal one had already ended behind closed doors. It was a stunning disclosure, and it instantly recontextualized a lot of what fans thought they had been watching. The reasons behind the split were not something Brandy aired in exhaustive detail publicly, which was entirely her right. But what became impossible to ignore was what happened in the year that followed the revelation. In 2021, Jared Schultz was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence following a reported altercation with Brandy at a bar in Orange County, California. The incident became public, and for Brandy, it meant that one of the most painful chapters of her private life was now being examined by anyone with an internet connection and an opinion. She handled it with the same directness that had always defined her. She didn't retreat into silence, but she also didn't perform her pain for public consumption. She acknowledged what happened, she spoke when she felt it was right to speak, and she kept moving forward. For a lot of fans, the way she carried herself through that period only deepened their respect for her. She wasn't a victim performing victimhood. She was a person dealing with something real and difficult, and she did it on her own terms. If the personal fallout from the breakup wasn't enough, Brandy also found herself navigating serious health challenges that added another layer of difficulty to an already turbulent stretch of her life. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Brandy contracted the virus and experienced it more severely than a simple case that passes in a week. The symptoms lingered, they affected her physically and mentally, and she was open about the toll it took on her day-to-day life. But COVID was only part of the health story. Brandy also revealed that she had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, a chronic autoimmune condition in which the immune system attacks the thyroid gland. For those unfamiliar with the condition, Hashimoto's can cause a wide range of symptoms: fatigue, brain fog, weight fluctuations, mood changes, and a general sense of the body working against itself. It's a condition that requires ongoing management, lifestyle adjustments, and the kind of patience that doesn't come naturally to someone with Brandy's high-energy, full-throttle approach to life. What was remarkable about how she handled both of these health disclosures was the transparency. In a media landscape where celebrities and public figures are often coached to only share the highlight reel, Brandy talked about what she was going through honestly. She shared the hard days. She acknowledged the frustration of dealing with a body that wasn't cooperating. And in doing so, she connected with a massive audience of people who were dealing with their own invisible struggles and had never seen someone on television just come out and say, "This is hard, and I'm not always okay." That kind of honesty doesn't just maintain a fan base. It grows one, and it transforms a reality television personality into something much more meaningful, a real person who other real people feel genuinely connected to. After everything, the breakup, the public legal drama, the health battles, the pandemic, and the years of personal reconstruction, Brandy Passanti came back to Storage Wars for its 15th season, which aired in June of 2023. And she came back alone. No Jared beside her. No duo dynamic to lean on or hide behind. Just Brandy, standing at the auction block on her own, doing what she has always done best. And she was magnificent. Fans who tuned in expecting to see a diminished version of the woman they remembered were met with something far better, a sharper, more settled, more fully realized version of Brandy Passanti. The fire was still there. The wit was still there. The instincts were still there. But there was something else too, a quieter confidence, the kind that only comes from having been through the fire and walked out the other side. She wasn't performing toughness. She actually had it, earned through experience rather than projection. Her return was one of the most talked-about elements of Season 15, and it reminded the show's fanbase why she had been such a central figure in the first place. She didn't need a partner to carry the scenes. She didn't need manufactured drama to hold viewer attention. She just needed to be herself, and as it turns out, herself is more than enough. The reception to her solo return also sparked a wider conversation about the show's future, who would return for the announced 16th season, what the new dynamic would look like, and whether the magic that defined the show's early years could be recaptured. Many fans made it clear that for them, Brandy's presence was non-negotiable. She isn't just a cast member. She is, for a huge portion of the audience, the emotional core of the show. Beyond the professional resurgence, Brandy has also found a new sense of grounding and happiness in her personal life. After the painful and very public end of her relationship with Jared, she eventually moved into a new chapter, one that seems by all accounts significantly calmer and more fulfilling. She has spoken about being in a relationship with a man named Clifford Beaver, and while she keeps the details of her personal life relatively private, wisely so, given how publicly her last relationship unraveled, the glimpses she shared suggest a peace and contentment that weren't always visible during the Storage Wars years. She carries herself differently now. The tension that sometimes crackled beneath the surface during those earlier seasons seems to have eased. There's a lightness to her public persona that feels earned rather than performed. She's also been very active on social media, maintaining a strong and engaged following on platforms like Instagram, where she gives fans a window into her everyday world, not a curated, filtered, aspirational window, but a real one. She posts with humor, with candor, and with the same unfiltered energy that made people fall in love with her on television in the first place. She engages with her followers in a way that feels genuine because it is. Brandy has never been very good at pretending, and that's exactly what makes her so compelling to follow. There have also been ongoing rumors in fan circles about a potential crossover appearance on Pawn Stars, another iconic A&E franchise that occupies similar cultural territory to Storage Wars. Nothing has been confirmed as of this writing, but the idea alone is enough to send the fanbase into a frenzy. If it ever happens, it would be must-watch television almost by definition.